Hello there, guys. At the risk of sounding like every other YouTuber out there, I'd really appreciate it if you'd click the subscribe button. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it allows my channel to grow, which means guests like the one you're about to watch, as well as more, would be willing to come on. Just give it a like, give it a subscribe, and we'll go from there. All right, thank you, and enjoy this episode.
It really is. I know we've had some back and forth over the years, and I really appreciate you putting up with my emails. So for my listeners who don't know who you are, my viewers who don't know who you are, just give us a bit of a rundown about your life and how you went from building computer games to where you are now.
Wow. Nutshell.
Well, back at the beginning, I did computer science as my first undergrad, and I entered the video games industry not long after university. I set up a website, godisageek.com, which I started a little relatively recently. And I did programming development. Loved it, did fun, but it was not my calling. And when I was seeking a vocation, I got pushed into teaching, and nudged in the right direction, but not the whole of the right direction. So I spent about 7 years in education, which is a passion of mine, but eventually realized that the priesthood is where I was being called to, obviously a form of teaching, but not necessarily secular teaching. So I went to seminary. I was in the Church of England at the time and did my training there, and then ended up on a spirally faith journey to what has led me to now a parish ministry in West Michigan, right in the middle of the Great Lakes.
Gosh, so literally a whirlwind of as soon as you hit that sort of religion sort of side of things, it was hit the ground running for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a crazy few years. Today is it today? What day is it today? Yeah, today is the celebration of the anniversary of my second year ordained to the priesthood.
I did see that on socials.
Deacon 3 years, priest 2 years. But it feels like,
In a good way, one hopes, in a good way.
Sometimes. No, I love being a priest. It is a great calling, but it's been a tumultuous journey.
Okay, so what made you go to America?
I got filled here. My time in the UK was wrapping up for several different reasons. I just been fired from my TV show. My tenancy agreement was expiring, and the license on the church I was serving is coming to an end. So there's a door closing, and as God often does, one door closes, another door opens. I got contacted by the church out there to say, would you come and become priest in Grand Rapids? And I'd never heard of it, so I thought I'd come and visit and see what it's on and meet the people and try and discern whether this is where I was being called. And it seems that I got led in this direction, and it wasn't to my radar at all, but I'm so blessed to be here.
No, fantastic. There's definitely been an incredible journey. Some might be envious of it, actually. So you used to play or used to create video games. I've seen that you posted a couple of times about Call of Duty. What is it you're playing at the moment? Please don't tell me Battlefield. I haven't
got Battlefield only because they've got a stupid safe boot regulation. I don't like when these software companies dictate what you must do with your own hardware. It rubs much the wrong way, and so I just pride of the open beta. I do like Battlefield games though, historically. I haven't had much time for games lately. The only game I've been on, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. The only game I've played in the last 7 or 8 years, to be honest.
I did see a post of yours. It was quite a while ago now on Instagram where you put like the word noob, and as you just playing better than I ever could. But I got to admit, I did enjoy the zombies. I do enjoy the zombies on yacht, but what's definitely dominated for me is Grounded. I would highly recommend that to everyone.
Okay, what's that then? Tell me about it.
So Grounded is basically like if anyone's ever seen the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh yeah.
But the first game of Grounded is you're in a garden and everything's trying to kill you, obviously, of course it is, because you're about that big. Ants are the size of buses, for example. Spiders are the size of houses. Everything's trying to kill you. And you learn to craft and survive, and you can build amazing structures out of grass. or mushroom pieces. It's got like a cartoony look to it, but it's definitely the stuff of nightmares when you see the spiders. And now Grounded 2 is in beta, and it's the same sort of thing, except instead of a garden, someone's back garden, you're in a park, and every update is going to be an update of that. Survival games seem to be my thing at the minute. Maybe it's a sign of getting older. I'm not sure.
This is the thing. I used to know every single video game that was out, so now I feel old. I've never heard of Grounded. But I haven't played games in like 7 or 8 years, but I semi-recently got back into COD. But COD being my anchor over the years, just even when I left the games industry, it's one game a year I would still review. Even when I was teaching, I get flown out to Los Angeles to play Call of Duty before it came out and give it a bit of a preview, which was always good fun. Because it's just an easy jump in and frag a few noobs. Yeah, you used to invest too much time. The video game taking far too much time.
No, I would say that. Definitely Grounded. I've spent a lot of time playing it solo. I've now got my wife hooked on it, and a friend of ours, she started playing it with us as well. So we all sort of play our part as a team. Is quite good. I think the last time I was really, really invested in Call of Duty would have been Black Ops 2, and I tried booting that up recently. And I'd set the controls to like silly sensitivity. Yeah. And literally like just tapping the joystick, like I was doing a 180. I was like, I can't play this anymore. I'm too old.
I can't use the joypads anymore. I'm on mouse and keyboard. I've always been PC master race, but I used to play Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 on the Xbox 360 and with the analog sticks. But it's horrible. My thumbs are juices.
Those lobbies would give people meltdowns now, wouldn't they? The things people said in those lobbies.
I think they're still pretty similar from what I hear.
So just bringing it back a bit, that was just me because we're both gamers. I wanted to sort of see what happened with GB News, because you were on there doing Calvin's Common Sense Crusade. I know because I watched it. Was it wholly the situation with Lawrence, or was there another agenda at play?
No, there was another agenda at play. There's not much I can share of that yet because I'm going to be suing you.
No, that's fair enough. Don't put yourself in any positions.
Yeah, but just as another agenda, there always is, or there often is, but it will all come out of the wash. I'm at the point where I've got all the, they've had to disclose through Discovery all of the stuff that they had on, well, anything that they ever mentioned my name in, and I now know the full story. I know the truth, and I thought we'd hit it out to the public.
Oh, okay. So it's going to be a rather big thing, I would imagine.
I'm going to prove it in controlled oppositions.
Okay. Interestingly, I watched a Connor Tomlinson podcast earlier. I don't watch Connor's religiously or anything like that, no pun intended. But it was something about Michael Gove, and I listened to it, and it was something about an interview he'd done for The Spectator, blah, 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 blah. But what really struck me was he said the person that owns/runs, someone will fact check me, I'm sure, GB News is Winston Marshall's dad. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I thought Winston Marshall had done it himself, like become a musician, and then gone on to be a successful podcast. I think the stereotype is you come from a family with that amount of money, it's not going to be difficult for you to get set up. And I'm not slating Winston or anything else, and I'm not trying to back you into a corner either. I just thought, what an interesting revelation.
It's very interesting, isn't it? But Sir Paul Marshall is one of the largest stakeholders in GB News, if not the largest stakeholder. Also in Spectator, and he recently tried to fight a Telegraph too. There's a chapter trying to buy out under control the censor right of British mainstream media. Very, very interesting. People should keep an eye on that situation.
Seems like he wants to be the new Murdoch almost. Does it? Yeah, like, or maybe even the alternate version of Murdoch as it's on the other side. So, again, I'm going to jump over because I know your time is limited and I want to get in as much as possible. So you've gone to America. You had a calling there, obviously, door shut here in the UK for you. How are the Americans treating you? I see that you're posting with rifles, and that's quite envious.
Good. I love the Americans. They are an encouragers folk. They're bold, they're forthright, they don't mince their words. All the things that I respect, they have it in bucket loads. I'd had my run-ins here, of course I have. I've had 2 cancellations here so far. But that's a big bed to the number of cancellations I've had back home. I think they are fighters here. We could learn a thing or two from our American cousins. I think we spend far too much time in Britain looking down upon Americans, but actually I think we should be looking up to them quite often.
I've never really thought that, but I know where you're coming from. And you met the man himself. You met Bad Orange Man, the Trump.
Orange Man's bad, yeah.
Orange Man Bad, that's it. Was that like a, no pun intended, was that like a religious experience almost? Like, I've heard he's got like this just aura about him when you're in prison.
I found the opposite. I found him just to be a straightforward, down-to-earth, humble guy. The complete opposite of what I was expecting, because he's such a big character.
Yeah.
I thought he'd be like, kind of on another level, but he just had a chat. He was just an ordinary bloke, and he listens, and he makes you feel heard. That was surprising to me. I don't know why, because he's just another person, but we kind of make caricatures out of these personalities, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Or, like I say, I've never met the man. You have. I can only go by what other people have said, and people have said he's got this aura about him, but he, like you say, listens. You said he's just another man, and that, I think that's probably why he resonates with a lot of people. I know there's other people on the other side who'll say, no, things like that. So, bringing you back to your faith, how is not the word. What was your defining moment to know that you were drawn to the church? Obviously, some people, I've spoken to Mormons in the past, and they would say that they've had a vision of Joseph Smith. I've spoken to people, and they've said they've just had a dream or a vision. What was it for you? And there's no mockery here. I'm genuinely interested.
Yeah, no, nothing extraordinary like that. No visions or anything. So when I was working in schools, in teaching, I was looking holistically at what are we doing as a society, and how do we make this country better when I was in Britain. And I realized that we were helping kids get great grades, but we weren't helping them become good people. I thought, why is that? What's missing about that? And it was the faith element. And I worked in mostly Christian schools, and the ones that did it well built up communities. And there is more to it than just academics, and it makes sense how you think about it. That's how it should be, right? It's holistically. It's not just utilitarian. And so I looked at the best approach, and the best approach is with Christian schools. And so I went to Christian schools, and they'd start. Well, one particular school that I was a fan of started the week in church. So Monday morning, all the kids were in church with all the teachers. Had a little bit of a sermon, a little bit of a service, and then they got set up the rest of the week. I mean, this makes sense. It's good. And so I started going on Sunday too, and this was a Via Media church, middle of the road, relatively high church, and they had Eucharistic services. And I find Christ through Eucharist, but I mean, he reaches out to people in ways that he knows we will find it, that we'll receive it. So he's got different approaches for everyone, but for me, it was that. Turning up and going to church and finding that there was truth there, and that I needed to do more of that.
No, that makes sense. So, just for those listeners and watchers that I've got who don't know, what denomination of Christianity are you?
So I came up through the Anglo-Catholic tradition of the Christian faith. So, your smells and bells and all that stuff. But there are far too many different paths, different traditions. There's one church, there's one universal body of Christ. And I think if people are watching this and thinking, where do I start or where do I search? Just go back as far as you can, seek traditions, look at how the early Christians worshipped and what they were taught and what they were teaching. And, you'll find you can't go far wrong there.
Okay, so on that point, I've had this discussion with many people, and you're a man in the know, so I want your opinion. When you look at the Abrahamic religions, we've got Christianity, we've got Judaism, and we've got Islam. As far to my knowledge, they're the three Abrahamics. So I don't know much about Judaism. I don't know much about Islam. Honestly, I have no idea. When it comes to Christianity, I would say that Catholicism is like the pinnacle, and then everything else sort of spread off from that. And the reason I think that is because I studied history as a young man, And it was like Henry VIII literally said, "Can I copy your homework, but I'll change something." That one, divorce, rub that out. And then fast forward to today, you've got evangelical men on TV saying, "If you don't send me money, you're going to hell." We even had, was it Phil Collins' song about Jesus, he knows me, mocking Christianity as well. So that can't all be right. Like, would you say that Catholicism is the main one that everything else came from?
Yeah.
Or am I on the wrong path there?
No, that is a very accurate church study of church history. There was one church, there's the Catholic Church, and then there was the Great Schism, and then there were the East and the West. There's the Orthodox and the Catholic, and then there was the Protestant Reformation. It's just now there are tens of or hundreds of denominations, unfortunately, but we should all one.
All under the Catholic banner.
Yeah, if people want to call it that, yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
No, that's fine. I'd done a lot of reading into it, and I was sort of like, actually, from what I can gather, Catholic, you can't go higher than traditional Catholicism.
Yeah, everyone will argue with how against that. So you're going to take a lot of flack for that, but I mean, you're accurate.
People do, and I mean, I'm entitled to my God-given opinion. So
where do you go to church?
I don't.
Wow.
We don't talk at the moment. We haven't talked for a while. I tried being a Mormon for a while when I was a very, very young man. I tried being CV. Nothing seems to sit. I find myself speaking to Bishop Dewar. I don't know if you know him.
I do.
We talk quite a lot on WhatsApp. Quite a lot actually. It's quite nice. And I said if I was drawn to a religion, it probably would be Catholicism, purely because you know where the line is. There's no grey area. It's black and it's white. Now, me and God haven't talked for a while, unfortunately.
People go through this. So life is hard, and we all get trials and tribulations. But we find an inner strength somewhere, and quite often people have to find God for that inner strength because it comes from Him, whether we know it or not. But you seem to be a man who likes history and likes truth, and you seem to recognize, at least on some level, that Catholicism is historically accurate and true. So I'm surprised you've not popped down to your local Catholic parish church and tried to take it in.
It's on my list, and I think it'll probably be a beneficial thing for me. But it's like everything else in life, we put it off until we can't avoid it anymore. And I think that's what I'm doing, maybe. At the same time, and this isn't an excuse, and you can berate me all you wish. Got family, I work full time. I've got 3 beautiful children who I adore. I've got 2 cats, and a wife. It's fitting it all in. And my wife is not a religious person, and that's her choice. We've brought the children up to be culturally Christian, but they're not religious in their own way. We decided long ago that we'd let them make their own mind up. We don't want to sort of enforce things on them to some degree. There's enough of that in the education and social spheres. All we can do is guide them our best. I think I'll go down when I feel comfortable enough, but I feel that I haven't earned the privilege. Speaking to Bishop Dewar has helped because he's a very, very welcoming Catholic man. Like yourself, you've been brilliant over the years with my emails, and I've never meant to use you as a pop-up pastor either. I always remember that term that you use. It's one of those things
because we all need sustenance, right? So we all need, obviously, we need food and water. So we also need best for our body, but we also need sustenance for our soul too. And we often neglect that, but we often neglect definitely for our body too, to be honest. But I don't think they realize until we get into dire strait. And then when we're unhealthy, then we seek medicine. But actually, sometimes we need to take our nutrients beforehand, and then we don't get the dire strait. There's that connection to your idea. It can be a strenuous one at times. But if we believe that there is something bigger than ourselves and that we live in a creation, there must be a creator. And yes, we can put that in the back of our minds and not really focus on it to be at. We do have life. It sounds like you're very blessed. We do have lots on our plate. But what if our plate is just such a small part of our existence? And what if there is a blip that we're on for 80 years? And then after this 80 years, we spend eternity in well, hopefully a very, very good place. Would we not want to be prepared for that eternity if this is just the journey to it? It's just worth considering.
I think one of the things that resonates with me as a younger man, I was a bit of a tearaway in my teens and 20s. I think we all went through that phase, even yourself. I think we all went through some sort of tearaway
I'm
phase.
still in that phase.
I guess you must be with Lawrence Fox as a best friend. I said that. And I remember my favorite stand-up comedian ever, George Carlin. And I can never not remember this. It's not verbatim, but it was something like, God loves you, but if you break one of his rules, he will send you to this place where you'll be in fire and torture and pain forever. But he loves you, and he needs money. All-knowing being, can't balance a checkbook. And it was something to that effect. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, but they always want tithing, they always want donations. And around that time, I was sort of discovering, as I said earlier, the evangelical send me money sort of thing. And I was like,
yeah.
And that can put people off. It did me for a while.
It should do, because it's designed to. It's the work of the enemy. That's not the teaching of God. That's the teaching of Satan. God's teaching is he loved you as a father. Therefore, he sets out law for you, as before he set out law for your kids. When your kids break their will, if you don't stop loving them, you want them to come back into your wheels. And if your kids leave you and reject you and actually go and live in the streets, that's not you sending them to live in the streets. That's them turning their back on you. It's the same with God. He wants us in heaven with him. We can reject him. We can turn away our backs to him and turn away from him and head to his hell. So that's our choice, not his. That's the problem. That he does everything he can. He fills us with his love, fills us with his grace to bring us closer to him. And quite often we say they don't want anything to do with you. We still blame him. And it's like a petulant children, essentially.
And it does seem... Well, no, sorry. I'm just thinking, actually, and I asked another religious figure this same question. What do you think the role is of God in modern Britain?
At the moment, there's not much overall. We've kind of, as a people, done away with God because we feel we're better than that now. Or, personal enlightenment and whatnot. We're smarter. There's a bit more rational being. We don't need God. We don't need a space rifle. And look at the results. The fruits that we're producing are bad. Our country is dying, literally for our very nervy. Within our lifetimes, we may not have a country anymore. That's very, very sad. And that's all because we stopped praying, we stopped believing in God. Our country has been around for over 1,000 years as a Christian country. And suddenly in the last 5 minutes, we've decided we don't want to be that anymore. The country's imploding and we can't put two and two together. We're stupid.
So do you think it's purely the post-enlightenment side of things, or do you think immigration is playing a part in that?
Right, all of it's connected. Like we have mass immigration, both legal and illegal, of people that don't share our values and our beliefs, our culture, and we're being replaced or replacing ourselves. We sit around point fingers at the government all day, every day, but people aren't getting married, people aren't having children, and people that are aborting their own children. Over a quarter of Generation Z has been killed before they've been given the chance to be alive. And so actually, we are the great replacements. It's not even the government. The government are rubbish. The government has been rubbish for decades. But we as a people have let ourselves down. We no longer believe in our country. And people watching this, people say, yeah, I did. But it's great. 1 out of 100 may. But what are we doing about it?
No, and that's that. We are still, I believe, below birth rate, which is horrendous. And it seems like the government have literally gone, well, we'll import people to help with that, but they're people, like you say, that aren't sharing our values. Whereas I had a similar discussion just on this topic. People voted Brexit to end migration because they wanted to take back control, migration, all that sort of stuff. But it seems like the politicians have literally said, right, well, we'll move this window of immigration from here to this bit and we'll make it bigger. And it seems like that's what they've done. Where do you stand on that? Is that an accurate sort of...
Yeah, it's been awful. We voted for Brexit to take back control. We got controls. But the problem is the people in control are rubbish. Well, our elected representatives are all awful and they have been for decades. Don't we get the leaders we deserve, right? We haven't chosen to stand up as a Christian nation, a Christian moral compass. We've been so liberal, laissez-faire that it actually doesn't concern never concerns until it affects us. We're selfish people now, unfortunately. Unless we center our thoughts on a good Christian moral compass, we'll continue to fall down the path.
It does sort of seem that way. I mean, you see the rise, or I say the rise, to coin that term, to use that term that's been coined. You see the rise of the LGBT. You see the rise of, as you mentioned, the abortion situation, making it far too easy. People seem very selfish now. It's all about the me. Career focused and money focused rather than, family focused.
Yeah. We used to understand that the family were the basic unit of a society, and so we'd protect our family, and then those families were linked with other families, it's a core community. But now the person, the individual, is the most fundamental unit of society, and that's because we become self-social. We're all searching for our inner self, like as if there's some secret person you need to unlock, got to become like true self. It's like, it's just assert. We are who we are. We should strive to become better people. We should strive to become good people, but we're not finding it in a person. There is no buried truth within us. The truth is Jesus Christ. And I say this because we used to understand this, and we were trying to become less of self-sabotage and become more of Him, because we understand this to be our wretched. We're not that good, but He is perfect. And so we want to become like Him, and to become like Him, we have to follow Him and allow Him into our lives. And instead of saying, what do we have? We have, well, who am I? What am I? I'm in the wrong body. I'm this, my body, my choice, etc., etc. It all comes back down to me, and it's death. It's a culture of death, actually.
Okay, you just sparked a memory in me somewhere. So, if a woman is 8, and I've done it that way for YouTube because they'll cut it otherwise, should she keep that baby
As opposed to what?
not keeping it?
What does not keeping it mean? That's euphemism for killing it. So if something is...
So she should bring that baby to term and then put it up for adoption because she's a victim of rape.
If something awful happens to a mother, we shouldn't do something awful to the baby too. I mean, it's a weird logic that people seem to have these days.
Just want to try and get your sort of view on that, because
my view is that life is important, and killing babies is never a good thing. Regardless of whatever any evil person has done to a mother, we shouldn't do evil things to the baby too. I can't sit here and say this is exactly what every mother should do, whether we're talking about adoption or raising or whatever, or family support or getting married and whatever. That life is tough, life is difficult, but life is life, and it's far superior to death.
No, okay. Life is life, but it's superior to death. But there's a kingdom of heaven, which is better than this.
Yeah. Ultimately, infinitely.
I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just trying to ask the question. As someone will comment and say you didn't ask that.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. We have suffering in this life, and God permits all kinds of trials and tribulations in our lives, and hopefully most of it is sanctified, most of it is formational, and it helps us become the person we need to be, because we are not pure, we're not holy, we're not good, but we need to get to that position to get into heaven. There's nothing in heaven that is impure. There's nothing in heaven that is not holy or good. And so our whole lives are about getting us to heaven. Should you choose to accept the invitation? And again, it's down to us. And I will say, we are saving ourselves, not saved by the grace of God that we are saved. That salvation is offered to us through Jesus Christ, who died for us, but we must accept that invitation. And that's the bit to miss out.
Okay, so as a Christian, which version of the Bible would you say is the one? Because there's a few.
Just pick up a Bible. For the most part, buy any mainstream Bible. It doesn't really matter whether it's an ESV, RSV, KJV, NAB.
I like the King James.
It doesn't matter. It's just the Bible we'll read is the most important Bible. Because people can spend a lot of time fascinating and fixating on which translation is most superior. The Bible you will read is the best version of the Bible.
Okay, that's brilliant. And I think that's a great place to end. Calvin Robinson, thank you ever so much for your time.
Not at all. God bless you.
And you, sir. Thank you.